From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. In today's show, Mark visits with Choose Iowa grant recipient Jody Barrett. I learn about an upcoming ag tax program with Iowa State University professor Kristine Tidgren, and special correspondent Russ Parker talks with Luke Rivir of UPL. I'm Riley Smith, one of your hosts for today, and joining me now is Mark Magnuson. And Mark, we got a lot of rain yesterday here in central Iowa, at least. I think most of the state got a good amount of moisture, but it's kind of what we want to see because we know that heading into winter, it was kind of dry. Then we froze up, didn't have a lot of that moisture level, and now we're at least making pretty good progress on replenishing those levels, I think.
Yesterday, Riley, was one of those days where you get rain kind of throughout the entire day, and it was a nice soaking rain as well. It wasn't something where you get, just a big drop of rain, or I should say a big amount of rain all at once that's going to flood things or cause problems. It's kind of just a consistent, nice, steady rainfall throughout the day. And I know you were looking at, for example, and again, it's always tough for us to talk weather because we're here in central Iowa in the Des Moines metro, but of course, this is a very big state and we have different weather kind of in all four corners of the state, so it can vary. But I know you were looking at the totals for where you live in Ankeny yesterday, and it was quite a bit of rainfall.
Yes, we got about 1.77 inches of rain, and it felt like that. It was pretty much just constant raining. I would say, kind of close to the afternoon when that started. And then up until like 10, 11 p.m., it was still going. And there were moments where it was actually raining pretty hard in Ankeny. And, going through the parking lot, it was flowing pretty good. So good to see all that. It was getting a little dry. Here in the office, I was sneezing a bunch and my throat's been dry a bunch. So you could tell that we needed the rain. And I'm glad that we got the moisture in the form of rain and not snow like they did in southwest Iowa earlier this week.
Yes, that's definitely the weird part, and it goes to show as well what I was talking about with the different weather patterns kind of in different parts of the state, because southwest Iowa got the snowfall to begin the week. Now we close out this week with rainfall, and it looks like it's going to continue in some instances over the weekend as well. Also, of course, we know the big news this week was the ceasefire in Iran. Earlier this week, U.S. and Iran agreeing to that 2-week ceasefire. So the big question, I think, for farmers, one of the big questions immediately, what does that mean for fertilizer? Well, Farm Progress says the deal does include a commitment from Iran to allow the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. However, that likely doesn't mean fertilizer shipments immediately restart. Global analysts for Independent Commodity Intelligence Services said the Strait's limited reopening has taken some of the immediate panic out of the world fertilizer markets. However, shipping remains far from normal levels. No one knows exactly how much fertilizer will move out of the Strait in the meantime. And with all that being said as well, it's not like you can have a ship move through the Strait and immediately be over here in North America. That takes some time. You also have the backlog of the ships that didn't make it through during the time of the conflict, so that's going to have to catch up. It's basically just one of those things where it's going to take some time to get back to normal as far as the traffic flow through the Strait, through the Middle East, and to get all of those things moving to how they were before the conflict. But right now, not going to make an immediate impact with the reopening, but it's at least a good first step, obviously.
Yeah, and we will still see what that normal looks like. It's probably going to be a new normal and not just back to exactly how it was before this conflict started. And we know that's having, like you mentioned, a huge impact on the ag marketplace. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of that analysis from this morning.
Prices for corn are trading with 1 to 2.5 cent losses this morning as traders look to round out the week. Futures saw losses on Thursday, with contracts down 1.5 to 3.25 cents. Open interest was down 12,902 contracts on Thursday, mainly in the May, dropping 41,575 contracts. Some were rolling to July, up 28,073 contracts. The Commodity View national average price for corn was down 3 cents at 405 and a half. Export sales data from Thursday morning showed 1.36 million metric tons in old crop corn sales for the week of April 2nd. Soybeans are starting off the day with 2 to 4 cent gains. Futures posted gains of 1/4 cent to 4 cents on Thursday, led by the front months. Open interest suggested a rotation of ownership, up just 248 contracts. The Commodity View national average cash bean price was up 3 3/4 cents at $10.97.5. Soy meal futures were up $1 to $3.50 on the day. Front month May is up $6.30 this morning. Soy oil futures were up 28 to 39 points on Thursday. Wheat is starting off Friday with losses across the three markets. The wheat complex was weaker on Thursday following an increased stocks number from USDA. Chicago wheat futures saw losses of 4 3/4 to 7 1/4 cents at the close. Open interest was down 15,543 contracts as May dropped 21,480 contracts. Kansas City hard red wheat futures were down 4 3/4 to 8 1/4 cents on the session. Minneapolis spring wheat was down 4 3/4 to 5 3/4 cents on the day. Crude oil was back up $4.06 on Thursday. Export sales data from Thursday morning had USDA tallying 295,403 metric tons of old crop soybean business in the week of April 2nd. That was the second lowest total for the marketing year, but still 71.42% above the same week last year. China was the buyer of 124,700 metric tons, with 121,000 metric tons switched from unknown destinations, with Japan buying 104,800 metric tons. New crop sales came in at 0. The USDA WASDE update showed the U.S. corn ending stocks projection left at 2.127 billion bushels, as the trade had suspected. The only major change was via the average price for cash, up a nickel to $4.15. World ending stocks were raised 2.06 million metric tons to 294.81 million metric tons, mainly due to a hike in India, South Africa, and Brazil. No major changes to South American production were noted.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you. One of the greatest things about the Choose Iowa grant is that it can highlight some really unique products that Iowa producers are putting out there. And this interview is no different. Mark Magnuson visiting with Jody Barrett. She's one of the recent recipients of a Choose Iowa grant, and she talks about her product, ranch candy.
Okay, hi, I'm Jody. I'm from Rooster Ranch, and we make a sweet jalapeno relish with a Texas twist. But we originally started Rooster Ranch as a way to introduce yaks to the Iowa farm scene. But like a lot of farm stories, it didn't go as planned. A few years ago, hay prices went through the roof, so we had to quickly realize that we needed another revenue stream. So on the advice of a relative, we tried something new. We started selling our ranch candy, which is an old family recipe that I've been making for years to get my children to eat vegetables. And we decided to try local farmers markets. Our first farmers market was at Pleasant Hill, and we didn't really know what to expect, but the response was phenomenal. We sold out. And then it happened again and again. And before long, we were getting invited to bigger markets, bigger events, until the demand completely outpaced our ability to produce it. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that our production process was entirely based in my kitchen. And at one point, my kitchen looked like a small warehouse operation, and my house smelled like a jalapeno. So last year, after consistently selling out, we had to sit down and make a decision. The process was very labor intensive, and while taking on debt was an option, it wasn't really a good option at our age. And I wanted my kitchen back. So we started looking for a better way. This grant is the better way. With this support, we'll be able to set up a commercial kitchen, making it available to get our home processing license and bring in equipment that will cut our processing time in half and the physical labor required by 75%, which is a big deal. This old body thanks you. And if you have ever processed jalapenos in bulk, you know that it's not for the faint of heart. There is pepper shrapnel, folks, and this equipment will eliminate that. From the beginning, we tried to grow our own produce, but the demand grew so much that we soon had to start relying on wholesalers. But we always wanted an all Iowa product. So last year, we contracted with a neighboring farmer to grow our jalapenos. Last year, he put in 200 jalapeno plants. This year, I am happy to say, he has started 1,000 jalapeno plants and has committed to growing all the rest of the produce we use in our product. And who knew that good old Iowa soil can grow some really spicy peppers? With more efficient production, we can continue to grow right alongside our farmers. The more we can produce and sell, the more our farmers can grow, making it possible to have an all Iowa grown product. But at the end of the day, this isn't about ranch candy. It's about something so much more important. It's about creating opportunities and building something sustainable right here in Iowa by supporting local agriculture and making it something that we can hand down to our grandchildren. We are truly grateful to the Department of Agriculture for recognizing and supporting small farms and businesses like ours, because Iowa is still a great place to grow, and it's getting spicier. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Time to run down those elevator prices for you here on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Dustin Huffman. About half of our elevators are making changes in their bids. Most of them seeing corn raise at least about a nickel. One, though, had a drop of about a dime. We'll take a look at where they're pricing today. At ADM in Burlington, they're 9 cents under on corn at $4.34. Soybeans 30 cents under at $11.38. At Cargill and Eddyville, they're 11 cents under on corn at $4.32 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona, 42 cents under on corn, $4.01. Soybeans, 70 cents under, $10.98. Ag State Sheldon, 27 cents under on corn, $4.16. Soybeans, 78 cents under at $10.90. Ag State Alta, 39 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.04. Soybeans, 73 cents under at $10.95. Cargill Cedar Rapids, 12 cents under on corn, $4.31. Soybeans, 25 cents under at $11.43. Right now they have their annual corn shutdown going on until the 17th. Five-Star Co-op Nashua, 30 cents under on corn, $4.13. Soybeans, 62 cents under. They're at $11.06. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 22 cents under on corn. They're at $4.21 for the cash price. ADM Des Moines, 25 cents under on soybeans with a cash bid of $11.43. New Co-op Red Oak, 33 cents under on corn, $4.10. Soybeans, 68 cents under at $11 even. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 45 cents under on corn, $3.98. Soybeans, 78 cents under at $10.90. At New Co-op in Sheraton, they're 34 cents under on corn, $4.09. Soybeans, 68 cents under, cash bid $11. Walk-On Feed Ranch, 42 cents under on corn, $4.01. Soybeans, 60 cents under at $11.08. New Co-op in Glidden, 40 cents under on corn with a cash price of $4.03. Soybeans, 70 cents under at $10.98. Innovative Ag Services Farley, 45 cents under on corn. They're at $3.98. Soybeans are 71 cents under with a cash bid of $10.97. And finally, at Cargill Muscatine, they're 22 cents under on corn at $4.21. Soybeans are 30 cents under at $11.38. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your basis numbers here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Stay informed with the closing market report from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your essential summary of the day's market activities and their impact on the agricultural economy. Join us for timely updates and expert commentary on commodity prices and market trends with trusted ag market analysts from around the Midwest. Tune in every Monday through Friday on your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate for your daily market recap and insights to stay ahead in the ag economy.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Well, of course, it is tax season, and Riley Smith has the chance now to speak with a professor at Iowa State University about a new tool that they are developing to help people filing their taxes. It goes towards tax preparers to be better dialed in and able to work around things as it relates to taxes on the farming side of taxes.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Kristine Tidgren. She's the director of Iowa State Center for Agricultural Law and Taxation. And Kristine, a very exciting announcement here recently of a new tool that will help create more ag-familiar tax preparers. And of course, it being tax season right now, a lot of farmers are thinking about really the complicated nature of filing taxes when you are a farmer. So tell us a little bit about this tool and how it will help to create more tax preparers who are familiar with the ag side of things.
Well, Riley, we are spending the next year working on an educational program to really increase the number of tax professionals who are competent to help farmers with their tax returns. We've discovered that there is a shortage of tax preparers, tax professionals who have agricultural tax return knowledge. And so we are working really hard. This is going to be almost a 40-hour training session that's going to be available free of charge to tax professionals. They'll be able to get professional credit for taking this course. And the end goal of this course is that in the end, they will feel comfortable and competent to help agricultural businesses with their tax returns. They can help farmers prepare taxes. They can help farmers make tax decisions. And hopefully they will continue down that road, continue to increase their competence and be skilled in agricultural taxation. So that's the goal. It's a very exciting opportunity that we have.
And I know that a lot of the rural tax preparers are older in age. A lot of them have been retiring. So there is that lower amount of those tax preparers who are familiar with that. Could you talk a bit about your experience of hearing from farmers, hearing from people in rural areas who are saying that, yeah, there's not many people who are experienced with my ag income and just the basics of farming?
Yes, we have a great core here in Iowa of people who have really devoted their careers to helping farmers with taxes. But as you say, a lot of these folks are wanting to retire or they have retired, and some of our best folks have died. It's just the nature of rural America in general that are smaller locations. There's been a little bit of a drop off in services that are available. It's the same on the legal side as well. Not as many attorneys in these rural areas. And we have the same issue with tax professionals. We'll have a really great office that will close down, and there's not necessarily anyone there to take over. So what happens is those clients get dispersed to other people, sometimes much farther away. And in some cases, it's becoming an issue where people have to travel to the cities to find somebody that can handle their business. And we'd like to change that. We would like to have people who are already skilled at helping clients with tax returns help them become competent in the agricultural side so that farmers have more options when it comes to having help with that part of their business. Because with farmers, it's a big part of their cash flow analysis and everything else. There's lots of decisions that they can make that can really impact how much money they have to invest in their business, what their tax liability should look like year to year, those types of things. So it really does require a special skill set, and we want to increase those opportunities for farmers to work with competent professionals.
And so when it comes to teaching those professionals and kind of making them familiar with the ag side of things, what are some of the best ways that you've seen so far to go about that? Because I'm sure there's a lot that kind of overlaps into other areas of taxation, right?
That's correct. So this sort of 40-week boot camp is the way we're sort of talking about it right now. It assumes that the people that are coming into this program already know how to file tax returns. They already know how to file 1040s, etc. We are focused on giving them all the special rules and the special requirements for farm tax. And so that is what this will do, is really increase their knowledge of the special rules in the Internal Revenue Code that apply to farmers, that apply to farming. It's surprising probably to somebody that's not involved in this area how many special provisions are in the tax code, because farming business really is unique. Your income doesn't come in over the year evenly. It comes in maybe all at once when you sell your grain or when you sell your livestock. So you have huge income spikes, then you have periods where all you're doing is spending money. And then times like this where commodity prices are down and the income may not be what you want, you also have to have some help trying to make decisions about, okay, what happens if I'm facing what might be a loss? Are there ways to take advantage of provisions that exist in the code that would minimize the harsh results? So these are all decisions that are made in conjunction with the farmer. Farmers know all kinds of things about their business, but to bring in someone knowledgeable in the tax provisions that could benefit them is something that will help all farmers that have that added expert in their corner.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson. Joined today by Lori Carter of Comstock to close out the week with our midday market discussion. Lori, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
The grain markets at the moment look a little better than they did earlier. We have Kansas City wheat trading up 2 1/4 on the May, a half to a penny on the other contracts. Chicago wheat's unchanged on May, down a penny on July and September. The corn's down 2 1/4 on old crop, 2 1/4 also on new crop. And at the moment, May soybeans are up 11, new crop November soybeans up 7.
So what do you view as the primary driver of the market right now to close out the week, Lori? Is it just back to the world news and the conflict news and what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz? Have we moved on already from the WASDE report?
We probably have moved on from the WASDE report, which wasn't anything earth-shattering or market-moving too much anyway. So yes, I think probably back to geopolitical and all the other stuff going on in the world.
And speaking of the WASDE report, it was fairly neutral. As you mentioned, there wasn't a lot of big headlines, but was there anything in the report that caught your eye or maybe something that you will remember from this report as we go forward?
Something that I noticed was that the wheat stocks were higher than expectations, but when I went and looked, it was only in a couple of small categories and not in the winter wheat at all.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
Once again, cattle trading higher. The fat cattle up 67 to 87. Feeder cattle up 92 to $1.65. The hogs are kind of mixed. We have April down 2, May up 5 cents. So basically, it's trading either side of unchanged.
And there hasn't been a lot of headline news to go off of for the livestock side. So what do you think is driving that side of the market right now?
I think it's just continued movement of money as the cattle really haven't had any bullish fundamental news here recently. In fact, box beef, actually the choice trading under the select shows we have plenty of fattened cattle around. So I don't know of anything different or market moving there either.
What's happening on the hog side of the trade today?
Basically nothing. Up down 2 to up 5. Just back and forth trade there and no new news to speak of there either.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
You can call me at 712-227-1171.
She is Lori Carter of Comstock, my guest here today. Head to Comstock.com for all of the marketing information and resources. Lori, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You do too.
Start your weekend with insight and inspiration on Weekend Ag Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Every week we bring you an in-depth look at the top ag stories with a recap of the week's biggest headlines. Join us for long-format interviews with industry leaders and policymakers, giving you insights you won't hear anywhere else. And don't miss our faith-based segment with Russ Parker, Food for Thought, offering a perspective that helps bring clarity and focus to our lives. Make Weekend Ag Matters part of your weekend routine. Tune in every weekend on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
May corn down 2.5 at 441.5. May soybeans up 10.5 at 1175 3/4. May soybean meal up 12.60 at 330.20. May soybean oil down 33 cents at 67.37. On the Merc, April live cattle up 68 cents at 250.45. April feeder cattle up 93 cents at 373.45. May lean hogs up 5 cents at 95.95. May pork cutout unchanged at 108.78. Class 3 milk up 3 cents at 17.07. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters, and we're jumping back into the market conversation with the livestock markets. Mark Magnuson taking a look at how those livestock markets were trading earlier this morning.
Live cattle futures posted gains of 77 cents to $1.27 at the Thursday close. Open interest was down 2,189 contracts on Thursday, suggesting some modest short covering. Cash trade saw a light trade at $246 in the South, steady to up $1 from last week. The Thursday morning Central Stockyards Fed Cattle Exchange online auction saw $244 to $244.50 bids, though no sales on the 970 head offered. Feeder cattle futures found strength into Thursday's close, with gains of $1.85 to $2.60 across the board. The CME Feeder Cattle Index was back down 45 cents to $364.10 on April 8th. USDA's export sales report showed 17,408 metric tons of beef sold in the week of April 2nd, the third largest so far in the calendar year. South Korea and Japan were the largest buyers of 6,100 metric tons each. Shipments were the lowest in 4 weeks at 13,321 metric tons. Lean hog futures saw front month April up 47 cents ahead of next week's expiration, as other contracts were down 25 to 77 cents. Open interest was down 1,865 contracts. USDA's national base hog price was reported at $89.92 on Thursday afternoon. The CME Lean Hog Index was back up 24 cents on April 7th at 90.30. Export sales data from Thursday morning showed 31,347 metric tons of pork sold in the week of April 2nd, a 4-week low. Mexico was the buyer of 14,700 metric tons, with 3,700 metric tons sold to Japan. Shipments were a calendar year low at 35,122 metric tons in that week. Of the total, 14,400 metric tons was headed to Mexico, with 4,900 metric tons going to Japan.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. As we prepare to wrap up the show here today on Iowa Ag Matters, we're listening into a conversation about corn herbicide, and as we prepare for planting season, a lot of farmers are going to be thinking about those pre-emergence herbicide applications. Russ Parker, our special correspondent, is visiting now with the folks at UPL about their latest product offerings.
And I'm with Luke Rivir. And Luke, if you can introduce yourself and tell us what you do, and then we can talk a little bit about UPL and some exciting new chemistry that you guys are launching.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, San Antonio has been fun this week. Been down here at the Commodity Classic. But yeah, like I said, Luke Rivir, Regional Account Manager for UPL. Started about a year ago, and I work here in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.
Okay. And we were talking earlier about a new product and some new chemistry. Let's talk about that.
So yeah, Intrava DX. That's a brand new corn pre-emerge to the market, to the Midwest market. It is a very, very strong product when you think about control of water hemp, Palmer amaranth, velvet leaf, some of those pesky giant rags. It's a very good broadleaf control product. It contains two active ingredients, ambicarbazone and metribuzin. And what's significant about Intrava DX being a brand new corn pre-emerge to the market, it's also a brand new AI or active ingredient to the corn market with ambicarbazone. It was a product that was developed in the late 90s down south in the sugarcane market and was never brought into play in the corn market. So it is truly a new active ingredient to the corn market. And like I said, it's phenomenal on water hemp and Palmer amaranth and some of those hard to control resistant broadleafs.
So, we talk about, especially in Iowa, having tools in the toolbox where we can be able to rotate some of these different ingredients in some kind of way to get some control. Let's talk about how that fits in that kind of a way people think about controlling weeds.
So as I mentioned, ambicarbazone, the one of the active ingredients in Intrava DX. This is a product that's brand new to the soil, brand new to the corn, brand new to any kind of weed spectrum. So you think about length of residual. You can apply Intrava DX to your corn acre 30 days up to 30 days before planting and up to emergence. It's definitely one you can't spray over the top, but it's a phenomenal pre-emerge. So in saying all that, it is one that the ambicarbazone and the metribuzin, those two AIs, they're both group 5 herbicides. But it's also one that from a residual standpoint, product half-life. We talk about atrazine and the overuse of atrazine. It is one product that we can also maybe replace or use in conjunction with atrazine post-emerge, and then Intrava DX would obviously be pre-emerge. But it's one that you wouldn't want to mix with atrazine just because of the overload of the group 5s. But it is, like I said, it adds to the length of residual.
So let's talk about strategy. Where does it fit? Obviously, you talked a little bit about Group 5 chemistries. What are maybe some applications that a producer can use while he's putting together a weed control plan?
So that's a great question. It can be a one-pass program, but we would really like it to be in a two-pass scenario. Do this with your pre-emerge, layer the residuals, and then come back with your second pass to clean up what you may have missed or what might have escaped. Obviously, it's really strong on broadleaves. It also could benefit from a Group 15, a metallochlor, a dual, a moccasin. UPL's product for metallochlor is moccasin, but that would be your Group 15 for your grass control. From a different applications, so there's different rates. If you wanted a one-pass system, pre-emerge only, then you're looking at that 20-ounce use rate. But it can go down as low as 12 to 14 as long as you're partnering it with something else.
Okay. So if a producer is intrigued by the conversation here and wants to get a little bit more information, what are some resources that you could direct them to check this out?
So UPL works with every major crop in the U.S., and we work with every distribution channel in the U.S., and obviously with the retail partners as well. So I would advise if there's an interest, a demand there at the grower level, that they reach out to their local retailer and or their distribution partner for more resources and or supply.
Okay. Well, Luke, I appreciate your time. I've been with Luke Rivir with UPL. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate appreciate being on it.
$400 bill on that pool table. Who's going to be sold?
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
And that brings us to the end of another week of Iowa Ag Matters. Thanks for listening. Join us again on Monday. For Riley Smith, I'm Mark Magnuson. You've been listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Have a great weekend.